welcome back to Genesis Does. I'm your host, Mr. MegaManFan, and today we are taking a look at Curse, Curse, Curse. And no, this is not the mooching mummy from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. This is a Mega Drive game unreleased outside of Japan, although they did have plans to release it in North America. They just never got around to it. Curse is a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up from 1989 developed by Micronet with a very in-depth plot that I wouldn't be able to tell you about even if I had the instruction booklet, because of course it would be in Japanese, but thankfully Wikipedia has my back. So here we go. The story takes place in an alien solar system and focuses on the history of its two inhabited planets, Parseria and Seneca. For many years, the people of these planets lived together in harmony, with the seemingly more advanced Parserians continually visiting the Senecans. However, something happened on Parseria. Something caused the Parserians to shut off all forms of communication, visitation, and activity with Seneca. Over time, Parseria's environment died out, leaving only a planet-wide barren terrain. Hundreds of years passed, and the current generation of Senecans see Parseria as nothing but a dead husk, with the concept of life and companionship being a mere forgotten legend. One day, an enormous attack force from Parseria attacks Seneca without warning. Confirmed to be Parserian military, its invaders cripple Seneca's defenses. Besides being well armed and equipped, the Parseria military can manipulate the wildlife to do its bidding through an unknown means, ensuring no escape. The desperate people of Seneca called upon an ancient starfighter abandoned by the Parserians called the Baldanders. Using its superior technology, the people of Seneca used the Baldanders in a counterattack against the Parserian invasion to destroy their main battleship, a large, mysterious vessel known only as Mother. Whoa! Did you get all that? That is a heady introduction to a side-scrolling shoot-'em-up, and quite frankly, you do not need to know any of that to play Curse. It plays out like any left-to-right side-scrolling shooter that you've ever played before. R-Type, Gradius, Gates of Thunder, and so on and so forth. The only thing I can say, and I should tell you in advance before I say this, that I actually enjoy this game, is that it's a little on the slow side. The whole concept of Genesis does what Nintendo don't back in the 90s was the quote-unquote blast processing that made games run faster. It's why Super Nintendo supposedly couldn't do a Sonic the Hedgehog game because it just wasn't fast enough. Now, mostly that was marketing hype, but you could find some shoot-'em-ups were performing better if they were on both platforms. This one, however, was a Mega Drive exclusive, and I don't know if it would have performed differently on Super Nintendo, but I suspect, based on how slowly the enemies move and how slowly the backgrounds scroll, you could have done this on either system with very little variation. And that's not due to one being faster than the other, it's due entirely to the way it's programmed. It's not programmed to be fast, and I don't need it to be fast. I actually like the pace that it sets, and I feel like it's perfectly enjoyable moving at this speed. And it looks very good at this speed too. There's multiple layers of parallax scrolling. The music is nice. It's maybe not classic all-time great that you're going to be humming when you're done playing it, but it doesn't annoy or grate or cause you to quit the game in frustration. I'd say it's a very well-balanced game. It moves slow, but it doesn't feel slow because you're always doing a lot. There are multiple enemies to target. There are obstacles that you have to maneuver around, like there canyons or cliffs or walls in other side-scrolling shooters. Only in this one, they're vegetation. They're like flowers and plants and weeds, and you might think the first time you play that you can just go through them because they're plant life, but you can't. Thanks to that Parserian military that's able to control the vegetation and the animals, you should not touch any of them or it will cause the instant explosive death of your ship. And if I had one criticism of Curse, it would be that you don't get continues with a game over. You saw me entering my high score there earlier. That's it. Unless there's some key cheat that I don't know, like pressing up, start, and B, or who knows what. Maybe there's some way to do it. Maybe you can use a Game Genie hack of some kind to get infinite continues, but you better learn the placement of the enemies and you better avoid the vegetation and not touch it, because if you run out of ships, game over, man. Game over. Maybe that's just the 1989 design philosophy of Micronet, get good or else. Well, sirs, I accept your challenge, which is why I'm playing the first stage over again, having learned a few of the rules of this game, gotten slightly better at not dying and collecting the power-ups, and I'm going to see if I can get back to that tree at the very end where the boss was. Kind of reminds me of Kirby's Adventure in that way, with a tree at the end, only it's not dropping apples and throwing apples at me. It's got a giant hummingbird that is trying to wreck my world by sending out multiple copies of itself and then spawning a giant boss version of itself that is going to just throw everything in the kitchen sink at my ship to take it down. It's fine. I want to take that boss down myself, so it's head on head. You take me on, I'll take you on. We'll see who drops first. I like these enemy designs too, how they're not just dying, but they're like bursting apart into smaller pieces, and then even the smaller pieces have shots that fly out from them like sonic rings. There's some very innovative things going on here. It's a curious mix, if you ask me. It's like they wanted to copy the formula, but not copy the style of previous games, but yet they weren't necessarily TOA plan level at designing a shoot 'em up. It kind of feels a little bit, how do I say this? The controls aren't stiff, but the movement is a little stiff. It doesn't feel fluid. It's like your ship kind of almost jiggles a little when you go up, down, left, or right. It's like you're skipping a frame almost. Again, not necessarily something that I would say makes it unplayable. It's just, it creates a feeling that it's not as smooth as some of the more polished shooters that you can play on Mega Drive. But I think this one is worth your time, and it's also, for a Japanese exclusive, not the super most expensive game out there. I've seen loose copies for sale as low as $20, complete copies for as high as $60. Might be worth picking up if you want a Mega Drive game for your collection. Of course, price will probably shoot up long after I made this video, so sorry about that. As always, thanks for watching.